Y'all have been asking me for this for over a year at this point, and I'm very happy to say that I can finally give you what you want. I've acquired every Guitar Hero DLC for the PS3, making the entire Guitar Hero DLC catalog fully preserved on all consoles it was released for. I'll have videos linked in the description showing you how to get all the DLC for your Xbox 360 or your Wii, or emulators for those consoles, but the focus of this video is getting them on PS3 and the RPCS3 emulator. If you want to play these songs on a real PS3 console, that console has to be modded, either with custom firmware or hand, doesn't matter, they both work. But installing them for RPCS3 is very simple. All you need is a computer powerful enough to run these games. I'll be going over both in this video, so if you want you can go down the timestamps and choose whichever one applies to you, either real console or emulator. But before I get into that, I want to get some general information out of the way. I consider the PS3 to be the second most comprehensive platform for playing on Guitar Hero DLC after an RGH Xbox 360. The Xbox 360 truly has every single DLC ever released. The only exception is the one PS3 exclusive Guitar Hero 3 DLC, the God of War theme. But that song's been ported over to 360 as a custom song, so it's still playable over there. The 360 is also the only console that has Guitar Hero 2 DLC. And there was also one Xbox 360 exclusive DLC pack for Warriors of Rock called the Rocktober Track Pack that had The Infection by Disturbed, Resistance by Muse, and Na 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 by My Chemical Romance. And much like how there was a Guitar Hero 3 DLC that was exclusive to the PS3, there was also an Xbox 360 exclusive DLC for that game as well, the Halo theme. So that's 4 songs that you can only play on the 360, as well as the 24 DLC songs that were released for Guitar Hero 2, so 28 songs in total. However, while the 360 may be the most comprehensive platform, it is a bit harder to get into. You need a modded console to play these. The 360 emulator Xenia is not even close to being in a playable state for most of the Guitar Hero games, which is why I think the PS3 is the most accessible platform for playing all the DLC. RPCS3 emulation is fantastic for these games, and getting it all set up and working is super simple. And if you want to play on a real PS3 console, the process of getting that modded and set up is far more accessible and easy to get into than 360. It's all soft modding. You don't have to rip apart your console, solder a whole bunch of wires in different places that you don't even understand, and any PS3 is capable of being modded. Some models are better than others for various reasons, but generally, if you have a PS3, you can mod it and play all the DLC. So without any further ado, I'm going to show you how to do all this. The first step for both is to download all the required files. Look down in the description for the DLC download links for each game. There should be 2 of them for each game, one Dropbox link and one Google Drive link. Just in case one of them goes down, there's a backup ready to go. The files are the same on each website, so it doesn't really matter which one you download it from. Just choose the one you prefer and download the DLC for all the games that you wish to have. Now that they're done downloading, we need to unzip them. What I like to do is I select all the ones I have, right-click, extract each archive to separate folder, and then they'll all extract at the same time. I don't need to right-click extract each one individually. They'll all be put in their own separate folders. Inside of each game's folder will be 3 subfolders, a folder called PKGs, one called Wraps, and one called Update, and then some number. The only exception to this is Warriors of Rock because that game never got a title update. So inside the PKGs folder are all the package files that install the DLC onto your system. And then in the Wraps folder, there's an Xdata folder that contains all the wrap files for the DLC files. And these are just licenses that allow the system to recognize and be able to run the DLC. And then the update folder will have an update package, and this will install just like any other package. And I'm going to show you how to install all these files, both on emulator and on a modded PS3. I'll go over the process for installation on a real PS3 first, and then I'll go to the emulator afterwards. If you're only interested in installing them on an emulator, skip to this timestamp shown on screen. Installing the DLC on your modded PS3 takes a bit longer than installing it on an emulator, but it's really not too bad, especially if you're already familiar with HEN or custom firmware. The first step is getting all the DLC files onto your console in the first place. There's 2 main ways of doing this. One is using a flash drive, and 2 is using FTP, which is transferring the files over your internet. Using FTP is probably a bit faster than using a flash drive, but I'm sure most of you guys will end up using a flash drive anyways, so that's how I'm going to show you how to do it in this tutorial. If you already have FTP working on your PS3, feel free to do that, but I'm just going to continue ahead with showing how to do it on a flash drive. Before moving forward, make sure that you have nothing important on your flash drive, because it will get deleted during this formatting process. So, for starters, we'll need to format our flash drive into the FAT32 file format. This is a kind of an older format nowadays, and I'm sure most of the flash drives that you guys will be using don't support it natively, but no worries, there's a program that we can download that will get any flash drive to format as FAT32, and that is Rufus. So click the Rufus link in the description, scroll down to the download section, and click this link here. So now with Rufus done downloading, go ahead and open it up, and this is the page that you'll see. Now we have to select the flash drive that we want to format. Make sure you know the drive letter assigned to it. Mine is J, yours is probably different. If you have multiple flash drives plugged into your computer, I would suggest unplugging the ones that you don't want to format and only have the one that you want to use for your PS3 plugged in, just so that there's no confusion on which one you're selecting. So with the right one selected, now on the boot selection drop-down box, choose non-bootable. Make sure the partition scheme is MBR, and then under the file system drop-down box, choose FAT32. Or if your flash drive is bigger than 32 gigabytes, it'll be large FAT32, but it's all the same. So now click Start, click OK, and then it'll format. Now that it's done formatting, I'm going to go into my File Explorer and then find my flash drive, right-click on it, go to Properties, just to verify that it is in fact FAT32, which it is. So now I'm going to start filling up this flash drive, and I'm going to do it in kind of a particular way because I believe there's a limit on how many package files you can install all at one time. So to avoid that, I'm just going to install the package files for one game at a time. The wrap files, however, can all be installed at the same time, so I'll grab all the EX data folders from each game. I'll start with Guitar Hero 3, go to wraps, and then I'll just grab the entire EX data folder and copy it over to the flash drive. And then I'll go do that for each game. So now all the wrap files have been moved over into the EX data folder. Just to make sure, there are 173 items in there. That should be the number you're looking for. And now I'm going to go grab all the package files from one of the games. I'll start with Guitar Hero 3. So I'll go to the packages folder, press Ctrl A to select all of them, and then drag and drop these into the root of the flash drive. You should also go to the updates folder and grab the package file from there and move that over to the flash drive as well. Now with all the package files over on the flash drive, I'm going to go plug it into my PlayStation 3 and I'll install them over there. Okay, over on the PS3, scroll over to the package manager, press X to go into it, go to install package files, and then go down to standard, press triangle to open the options, and then press X on install all packages. This should install every package that we have on the flash drive, so we don't have to go through and do each one individually. Okay, so all the DLC for this game has been installed. Now I'm just going to repeat the process for every other game. Alright, I've just finished installing all the DLC for all 4 games. Now all we need to do is install the wrap files. And to do that, I'm going to open up Apollo Save Tool. If you don't have Apollo, I have a link for it in the description. Just install it like you would any other package file. And then once it's open, scroll over to User Backup. And first, if it's not already activated, activate your PS3 account. So press X on that. And then press X on Activate. And if it already is activated, you'll get this error. That's fine. If not, it'll activate the account, and then it'll ask you to restart your console. And then once you activated your account, scroll down to Import Licenses, USB 0, and then import all wraps as RIF licenses. Now it'll import all those licenses, turn them into RIF files, and you'll be able to play all the DLC. So just give it a few minutes, and it'll do its thing. So now the licenses are installed, and you're good to go. There is one more small thing you'll have to do to fix one of the track packs, the POD track pack. You'll need to rename the file. So go ahead and open up a file browser. I use Multiman, and I'm sure most of you do too. So open that up, go to the file browser, go to the PS3 root, navigate to dev_hdd0, game, and then find the Guitar Hero 5 directory, which is BLUS 30292. Go to user directory, then scroll down until you see the POD track pack, and then while it's hovered over with your cursor, press circle, rename, and then rename it like I have shown on screen here, GH5_DL208. Okay, now we are truly done. Now we can launch our games and make sure that they all work. And there you have it, 712 songs, exactly how many you should have in Warriors of Rock. If you have 729, you just have your GH Tunes stuff on, so go to Display Options, and then Show GH Tracks. Turn that off, unless you want to have them shown. So loading them up in Warriors of Rock shows that we have all the Warriors of Rock DLC, all the Guitar Hero 5 DLC, and all the World Tour DLC, with the exception of the 6 Hendrix tracks that are World Tour exclusive. So I'm going to launch that game to make sure the Hendrix tracks show up, And to demonstrate a little quirk with World Tour and Guitar Hero Metallica if you try to load DLC and your game is installed to the hard drive. So it's been found that the DLC will only load in World Tour and Metallica if you're playing the game from the disc or if you're playing it in ISO format. Generally, games are just installed straight to the hard drive in like an unpacked form, but for whatever reason this engine doesn't like that and the DLC just won't load. Thankfully, it's very easy to convert to an ISO, and I'm going to show you how to do it real quick with Guitar Hero Metallica since I already did it for World Tour. So no matter if you already have the game installed to your hard drive or if you have the disc in and you're going to install it now, just hover over it in Multiman, press triangle, and then scroll down to Create ISO, and then press X. That'll take a few minutes to finish, and then from now on you'll have to launch the game either from that ISO or from a real disc. Moving on though, there's really only one more game to check, and that's Guitar Hero 3. And as you can see here, I have every DLC. It was a success. And that does it for the console installation of all the Guitar Hero DLC. Now I'll be moving on to show you guys how to install them on the RPCS3 emulator. The first step in installing all the Guitar Hero DLC on RPCS3 is to download RPCS3. So if you already have it downloaded and all set up, that's great. Otherwise, I'll go through how to set it up here. So go to the link in the description and select your operating system. I'm on Windows, so I'll be showing you how to do everything on Windows. If you are on Linux or Mac OS, you'll be on your own. I'm sure the steps are mostly the same. Once it's done downloading, go ahead and unzip the file. And then once it's done unzipping, you can move this folder to wherever you want it to be on your computer. For demonstration purposes, I'm just going to keep it in my downloads folder, but you can put it anywhere you want, and then open up rpcs3.exe. Before using rpcs3, you first must install PS3 firmware so that the games will actually be able to run. To do that, go to the description, find the PlayStation link, open it up, and then find the button that says Download PS3 Update. Now if you click the button, nothing much will happen, but if you right-click, Save Link As, then you can download the file. And if this security warning pops up, just click the little arrow, click Keep, and it'll download just fine. Now with the firmware file downloaded, what I like to do is make a folder called Firmware, place that file in that folder, and then move that folder into my RPCS3 folder, just so that I have it in a good spot for safekeeping. So now, once the firmware is in its rightful location, open up RPCS3, go to File, Install Firmware, and then find where you put it, if you're like me, in the firmware folder, and then select the file. It'll install it, and you're good to go. Now just let it run its first time setup. Alright, it's done. RPCS3 is set up. Now at this point we can add our games to our RPCS3 library. What I did was I backed up all my legally acquired games on my modded PS3, and then I moved all those files onto my PC so that I can use them in RPCS3. So if you did that, or if you acquired games in a different way, what you want to do is navigate to your RPCS3 folder, find the games folder in there, and then go to the folder where you have all your games stored. And then select all the ones you want to move over to the emulator. For this purpose, I'll just do the ones that have the DLC, and then move them over. For me, I'm going to copy them, so I always have those original files where they are, and I'll have a copy of them in my RPCS3 folder. Now that there are a few games in the games directory, you can click the refresh button on RPCS3, and they should populate in your library. At this point, we're pretty much ready to install all the DLC. But first, I want to update these 3 games to their latest title update, which is where that updates folder came in from the downloads. So I'm going to navigate to one of the game's updates folder. I'm going to select the package file, drag it into the RPCS3 window, click into it, and you'll see that there's a prompt here asking us if we do want to install the package. Yes, of course we do. And it'll install it, and there we go. Now, Guitar Hero 3 is updated to the latest version, and now I'll just do that for the other games available. So now that all my games are updated, I'm just going to install all the DLC in the same way that I installed the updates. So I'm going to navigate to the game that I want to install DLC for, find the PKGs folder, press Ctrl A to select all the DLC, and then just drag them into the RPCS3 window. Here we'll have a pop-up asking us if we want to install all these packages. Yes, of course. Click Install, and then I'll let it do its thing. Alright, all the Guitar Hero 3 DLC is now successfully installed, but wait, there's more. You can't just stop there, you have to get the RAP files as well. So go back to the File Explorer, find the RAPs folder. In the EX data folder, Ctrl A to select all the RAP files, and then just like you did with the packages, drag them, drop them into the RPCS3 window, and you'll see down here in the log that they have all been copied to where they need to be. So now, at this point, the DLC is fully complete, it's ready to go. You can play it in-game. I'm just going to follow suit for the rest of the games, and I'll see you in-game just to prove that they work. But wait, there's one more small thing we have to do. We have to go fix the POD track pack in Guitar Hero 5's DLC folder. So go to dev_HDD0, game, and then plus 30292, and then go to the user directory folder, scroll down to where you find the POD track pack, and then simply rename that to GH5_DL208. For whatever reason, the game just doesn't recognize it as its default name, but this fixes it. Thanks to Addy Mills for finding this one out. Before we launch the game, let's configure our guitar controller. So click the pads button at the top, and then what I'm going to do right away is click add a profile, so this way I can easily switch back and forth between different controller configurations. And for this video I'm using an Arduino guitar configured as a PS3 controller, so I'm going to name this profile Arduino PS3, just so I know which controller I configured it for. And now there's a lot of different guitar controllers out there, so it's very possible that your settings will differ from mine, but more or less the basic stuff should be the same. First we'll need to figure out which handler our guitar uses. When you create a profile, a keyboard is selected by default. I don't want to use the keyboard, I want to use my guitar controller. So I'm going to open up that drop-down menu, and mine is an MM joystick. You may just have to trial and error your way into finding which one is the correct one, but I know that mine's MM joystick and the device is joystick 1, because when I move my whammy bar, I can see down here that this little dot moves. So that is the correct configuration for my controller specifically. Now I'll go down to the bottom middle and choose a guitar for the device class, and then I'll choose Guitar Hero because I'm using a Guitar Hero controller, not a Rock Band controller. And then we'll have to bind all of our buttons. So the green fret is cross, red is circle, yellow is square, blue is triangle, and orange is L1. Start and select are self-explanatory. And then up strum is up on the D-pad, down strum is down on the D-pad, and then the whammy bar is right on the right stick. Then I'll click save, and it's just warning me that button 5 is assigned twice over here. Won't make a difference, it's okay. And again, your settings will probably differ from mine because there's hundreds of different configurations of different guitar controllers and all this different stuff. So you may have to spend a bit of time figuring out the correct settings, the correct key binding and such, but it shouldn't be too bad, you'll get it. And if you are having problems, maybe leave a comment down below. It's possible somebody else has been experiencing the same issues and may be able to help you. Now I'll quickly go through some of my emulation settings. What I recommend you to do is change the configuration settings on a per game basis instead of changing the global settings up here, because that'll change the emulation settings for every game. You just want to change it one game at a time, just in case there's a setting that may conflict with a different game. So right click on a game you want to create a custom configuration for, and then choose create custom configuration. Mine says change because I've already created one, and I'll just go through what I've done. In the CPU tab, I've changed nothing. In the GPU tab, make sure that your renderer is set to Vulkan because that has the best performance. And then make sure that your graphics device is set properly. If depending on what your hardware is, if you have a more powerful computer, you may be able to bump up this resolution scale a bit. I bumped mine up to 200% because I have a 1440p monitor, so that resolution just makes sense for my setup. You can also bump up the anisotropic filtering and the anti-aliasing. Probably leave the frame limit at auto unless you want to mess around with some very specific frame rate related strum limit stuff. Over here, you do want to have right color buffers and disable vertex cache checked. It'll just make the game render better. There's a few rendering issues that these resolve. In the audio tab, I've changed nothing. However, if you wanted to, you could bump down this audio buffer duration from 100 down to something lower. This will make a noticeable effect on the audio lag in-game, but whatever this number is set to, you'll be able to compensate for that by changing the lag settings in-game. So keeping it at 100 is not that big of a deal. You'll just have to go change your lag settings to 100. I've changed nothing in the I/O tab because none of this really matters for Guitar Hero games. Under System, I've changed nothing as well. Network, I have disconnected. You probably do as well, unless you have a very specific reason to be connected to PSN. And also, I'd recommend you keep it disconnected for Guitar Hero Wars of Rock specifically, because sometimes that game has trouble loading songs, because it always sends calls out to try to connect to PlayStation when it can't. So you actually get better performance by being disconnected. Under the Advanced tab, I do have a few things checked here. Read depth buffers, write depth buffers, and read color buffers. These are also pretty important, I've heard. This will also reduce the likelihood of crashes, and it just makes the game perform a bit better. Another thing I've changed is the RSX FIFO accuracy. I've changed that from fast to atomic. That's just because when I was playing once, it crashed, and it recommended that I change this to atomic, and so far I haven't had another crash. So that may work for you. I don't know. Mess around with it, experiment, figure out what emulation settings work for your setup. But other than that, that is all that I've changed. Now I can save this custom configuration, and we can launch the game. And that's a good sign, all the songs are showing up. Now I'll just play one just to make sure that they actually load into the game, and we're golden. So that does it for this video. It's kind of a longer one, but there was a lot that I needed to cover in this video, and it was really 2 videos in one. But I hope it was helpful, and that it allows more of you guys to be able to play the Guitar Hero DLC in an official format that isn't Clone Hero. Huge thanks to the person who allowed me to get onto their PS3 account and download all these DLC songs. I'm going to keep their identity anonymous so they don't get any messages, but you know who you are, and thank you so much for your generosity and your preservationist mindset. A lot of people are going to be able to play these songs for the first time ever because of you, and I think we can all thank you. But that about wraps it up for me. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, leave a like. If you really like me, subscribe to me. And if you have any questions or feedback, let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much. Have a good one.